Hey everybody, Debo Pringle here, and today we've got a quick video and we're talking about a different way to generate ability scores. My previous group did it this way and I've got a lot of appreciation for it. If we were to go by the player's handbook, there are two different ways of generating ability scores. The standard rule being the 4d6 drop the lowest method. Obviously we're playing D&D and we like to roll dice, so using that method to generate ability scores is natural. But this can lead to a lot of randomness and variance between player characters. Someone might roll really high, another person might roll really low. So then you might let the player who rolled really low re-roll, but when do you tell them to stop re-rolling? What amount of stats is high enough to be acceptable? So there might be a few problems with rolling stats in your group. And if there are, there's the variant option, which is the standard array. The standard array option gives everyone an equal number of points to increase their stats by. And this leads to equal characters, but standard array is confusing. The standard array table isn't consistent. An increase of 1 to a stat isn't always consistent with the number of points it costs. So again, while you can make equal characters with this, the process is just a little cumbersome. So that's when my friends in my last group created this method. Between the two options we have in the player's handbook, I'd say it's closer to standard array, but it's a lot less confusing. This method, which doesn't have a name now that I think about it, gives you a number of points to increase your stats in a 1 point per stat for 1 point spent ratio. And rather than starting at a baseline of 8 like standard array, it starts at a baseline of 0. The number of points you have to spend to increase your stats can vary. It'll really just depend on how strong you want your characters to be. My group did 80 points to spend on stats, and that led to characters with a higher than normal stat line at level 1. If I had to change it up or redo it at all, maybe I'd put it in between the 70 and 75 point range. But for the sake of this video, we'll use a 75 point limit and we'll show you how it's done. So we can allocate our 75 points into 6 ability scores, but there are a few rules that we had. The lowest number of points you can allocate to an ability score is 5, and the highest number of points you can allocate to an ability score is 18. And these are all pre-racial bonuses. So here's an example of an ability score spread we can achieve with this. Let's say we're making a half-orc fighter. Obviously we want a high strength, so we'll go ahead and just throw 18 straight into our strength. We'll make our dexterity a 12. We would like a higher constitution, so we'll allocate 15 of our points to constitution. Moving on to our mental stats, with intelligence we'll put 10 points into it. And wisdom we'll put 12. And we've decided that charisma is going to be our dump stat, so we're going to throw an 8 into it. And from there we have our half-orc racial bonuses, which gives us a +2 to strength, giving us a 20 strength. And a +1 to constitution, giving us a 16 in constitution. And that's it. It's super easy, super straightforward, but it's also very customizable. You can change the number of points you want to give to your players to start off with. If you do go with a higher number, like 80 for example, I'd recommend that you go with the standard racial bonuses from the book. You still have that freedom to pick what race you want, and it doesn't come to the expense of having a low main stat. If you go with a lower number, like somewhere between 70 and 75, I think that's when we should use the Tasha's variant rule. And that's of course where you can just put a +2 to any stat you want and a +1 to any stat you want, regardless of what race you are. And even then you could change the maximum and minimum. Maybe you choose not to have a maximum of 18, maybe you just make it 20. Maybe you decide to keep the maximum of 18, but you say that has to be after racial bonuses are applied. There's a lot of ways you can workshop this method, and that's why I like it so much. And of course, the one con I could think of is just that you're not rolling your stats. I know a lot of people get a kick out of that, and they feel the suspense as they watch their dice roll, and they're hoping they get something good and see that sweet 666. So while this method lacks that, it does at least have the nice bonus of not having to worry about having an imbalance between your players, and you don't have to worry about someone who rolled low wants to keep re-rolling until they get something better. Just a nice, simple, easy way to give everybody equal stats that are still pretty good. And that's it for this video. It's a short one. This Saturday, we'll be doing an adventure overview of the 5th edition module, Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. I think it's a really cool adventure, so if you're thinking about DMing an adventure module, come check it out. Hope to see you there. Take care.